The harsh glare of the xenon sun beat down on the makeshift negotiation tent. Professor Anya Sharma, her wrinkled face a roadmap of countless sleepless nights spent deciphering alien languages, adjusted her spectacles and took a deep, fortifying breath. Across from her, seated on a bioluminescent cushion that pulsed with an unsettling rhythm, was Xylar, Supreme Commander of the Vronti Armada. Xylar, with his iridescent scales shimmering under the artificial lights, was a magnificent specimen of alien evolution. His forearms, each tipped with razor-sharp claws, remained folded, but Anya knew better than to mistake that for passivity. The Vronti were conquerors, their history a tapestry woven from the threads of subjugated worlds. And Earth, with its tantalizingly vulnerable position, was next. Professor Sharma, Xylar's voice, a series of clicks and whistles translated by the implant nestled in Anya's ear, resonated through the tent. We have been listening to your intriguing tales of this Geneva Convention. You claim it governs the conduct of war, yet you admit to us, without a hint of shame, that it is routinely violated. Anya forced a smile, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. But that's the beauty of it, Commander. It sets a standard, a framework upon which civilizations, even those as disparate as ours, can find common ground. Beside her, General Petrov shifted uncomfortably, his hand hovering near the panic button that could unleash hellfire upon their visitors. Anya shot him a warning glance. They were walking a tightrope over an abyss, and panic was a surefire way to fall. A standard you fail to uphold, Xylar countered, his four eyes black and fathomless as space itself boring into her. Our analysis of your history paints a grim picture, Professor. Wars fought with horrific weapons, atrocities committed on a scale that even we, the Vronti, find abhorrent. History, Anya countered, is a harsh mistress. We learn from our mistakes, Commander. The Geneva Convention is a testament to that learning. It's a promise we make to ourselves, to future generations, that the horrors of the past will not be repeated. She gestured towards the datapad resting on the table, its screen displaying carefully fabricated data. Data that portrayed humanity as a force to be reckoned with, armed with weapons far more terrifying than anything in their actual arsenal. Weapons that could crack planets and extinguish suns. Lies designed to make the Vronti think twice about unleashing their own considerable firepower. Xylar studied the datapad, his crest, a crown of shimmering spines twitching. Anya knew that the Vronti, for all their martial prowess, were a pragmatic race. Theirs was a conquest of logic, not blind aggression. They would weigh the risks, analyze the potential gains and losses before making a move. And what of this? Xylar's voice was sharp as a razor. He tapped the screen, highlighting a section detailing the Terran planetary defense grid, a complete fabrication concocted by Anya's team. A network of satellites capable of obliterating any hostile force before they even reach your atmosphere. You expect us to believe this? Anya kept her voice steady, her expression neutral. Commander, you wound me. Could we fabricate such information? We understand the gravity of this exchange. She let the word hang in the air, emphasizing the double meaning. An exchange of information, yes, but also a potential exchange of annihilation. Xylar was silent for a long moment, his eyes flickering across the datapad, then back to Anya. Anya held her breath, praying that their bluff held. The fate of humanity, she realized, rested on her ability to convince this creature, this conqueror, that humanity was a sleeping dragon, not worth the risk of waking. Then, to her surprise, Xylar chuckled. It was a low, rumbling sound like stones grinding together. Professor, he said, leaning back on his cushion, you humans are an intriguing paradox. So much potential for destruction, yet you bind yourselves with these conventions. Admirable in a way. Foolish, perhaps. But intriguing. He gestured with one clawed hand and the datapad vanished, replaced by a holographic projection of a planet, its continents outlined in glowing lines. This, Xylar said, his voice taking on a sharper edge, is Vron, our homeworld. We too have laws governing warfare, but our laws are absolute, No room for interpretation, no allowance for sentimentality. He pointed to a specific point on the planet's surface. This is the scar, a testament to the consequences of violating those laws, a permanent reminder that some lines are not meant to be crossed. A chill snaked down Anya's spine. Xylar's words, his casual mention of a scar, spoke volumes about the Vronti concept of justice. These were not creatures who tolerated dissent, let alone outright violation. Our laws are different, yes, Anya admitted, choosing her next words carefully. But they are built on the same foundation of mutual respect, of understanding the cost of conflict. She leaned forward, meeting Xylar's gaze with a steady one of her own. We understand the consequences, Commander. We have our own scars, our own reminders of what happens when ambition trumps reason. She didn't need to elaborate. The Vronti had undoubtedly analyzed Earth's history, had seen the aftermath of Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Chernobyl. The scars were there, etched into the very fabric of the planet, a grim testament to humanity's capacity for self-destruction. Xylar studied her for a moment, his 4 eyes unreadable. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression, not by human standards. It was a baring of teeth, a predator acknowledging the cunning of its prey. Very well, Professor, Xylar said, his voice surprisingly gentle. You have piqued our curiosity. We will study this Geneva Convention. We will see if your words hold weight, if your actions can live up to your claims. He rose, his towering form casting Anya and General Petrov in shadow. Consider this a reprieve, Professor. A chance to prove that humanity is worth more than the dust and ashes it seems so intent on reducing itself to. And with that, he turned and exited the tent, leaving Anya and the General alone with the weight of 1,000 unspoken threats hanging in the air. General Petrov let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding, his hand finally falling away from the panic button. That went better than expected. Anya, however, felt no such relief. She knew this was far from over. The Vronti were masters of observation, of meticulous analysis. They would be watching, scrutinizing humanity's every move, waiting for the facade to crack. Don't celebrate just yet, General, Anya said, rising to her feet. This isn't over, not by a long shot. The following months were a blur of frantic activity. Anya found herself thrust into the role of global ambassador, tasked with explaining the intricacies of international law to a world teetering on the brink of panic. The Geneva Convention, once a dry academic document, became a beacon of hope, a symbol of humanity's potential for self-governance. But the pressure was immense. Anya worked tirelessly, fueled by endless cups of coffee and the fear that one wrong word, one misstep, could unravel everything. Meanwhile, the Vronti remained in orbit, their massive ships casting long, ominous shadows across the planet. They observed, they analyzed, and they waited. Then one day, Anya received a message. An invitation. Xylar, the Supreme Commander himself, was requesting a meeting, aboard his flagship. Anya knew this was a pivotal moment, a test. She boarded the Vronti vessel with a knot of apprehension in her stomach, her mind racing with possibilities. The flagship was unlike anything Anya had ever seen. The corridors were vast, organic, pulsing with an eerie bioluminescence. The air hummed with a low subsonic thrum that vibrated in her teeth. She was escorted to Xylar's command chamber, a cavernous space dominated by a holographic projection of Earth. Xylar stood before the projection, his 4 arms crossed over his chest. Professor Sharma, Xylar greeted, turning to face her. Welcome. We have been observing your world. Anya swallowed, her mouth suddenly dry. And what is your assessment, Commander? Xylar regarded her for a moment, his expression unreadable. Then he did something that took Anya completely by surprise. He chuckled. Not the predatory grin from before, but a genuine chuckle, tinged with something akin to amusement. You humans, he said, shaking his head. You are a chaotic, contradictory species. You wage war with reckless abandon, yet cling to these ideals. You are in many ways your own worst enemy. He paused, his gaze turning sharp. But there is something intriguing about you. A spark, a potential that perhaps even you are not fully aware of. He gestured to the holographic Earth. We have been monitoring your global network, your internet, as you call it. Anya's heart skipped a beat. The internet, the one variable they hadn't been able to control. A vast, sprawling network of information, both good and bad. Your internet, Xyler continued, his voice taking on a fascinated tone, is a testament to your paradoxical nature. A chaotic symphony of information, of creativity, of memes. Anya blinked, momentarily thrown. Memes, Commander? Xylar nodded, his crest rippling. Our analysts have been intrigued by these images, these captions, these humorous juxtapositions of ideas. They are illogical, irrational, and yet, he paused as if searching for the right words. They are strangely compelling, addictive even. Anya stared at him, her mind struggling to process this unexpected turn of events. The fate of humanity, it seemed, hinged on memes. We have come to a decision, Professor Sharma, Xylar announced, his tone formal. We will honor this Geneva Convention of yours. We will not invade. Relief washed over Anya in a dizzying wave. They had done it. They had bluffed their way to peace. However, Xylar continued, and Anya's heart plummeted back to her stomach. We have one condition. Condition, Commander? Anya asked cautiously. Our troops, Xylar explained, have been fighting for centuries. They are weary. They long for respite. He gestured towards the holographic Earth, his four eyes twinkling. We find your planet stimulating. The chaos, the unpredictability. It is a welcome change from the rigors of war. Anya waited, her breath caught in her throat. We request, Xylar said, a hint of mischief in his voice, to use your planet as a vacation destination. And that is how Earth became the #1 vacation destination for the Vronti Armada. It wasn't an invasion, not exactly. More like a very large, very well-armed tourist group. The influx of 6-foot-tall, 4-armed aliens initially caused widespread panic. But the Vronti, true to their word, were on their best behavior. They marveled at sunsets, queued for hours to ride roller coasters, and developed a bizarre fascination with reality TV. The sight of battle-hardened Vronti warriors wearing Hawaiian shirts, sipping margaritas on the beach became a common sight. The global economy received an unexpected boost as souvenir stands popped up like mushrooms after a rain, peddling everything from I survived the non-invasion t-shirts to miniature Vronti figurines. Life on Earth had taken a decidedly surreal turn. One evening, Anya found herself sharing a table at a crowded pub with General Petrov, both nursing a much-needed drink. So, Petrov said, raising his glass in a mock toast, we saved humanity, but sometimes, I wonder. He paused, eyeing a group of Vronti soldiers enthusiastically belting out a karaoke rendition of Bohemian Rhapsody, their voices a series of discordant clicks and whistles. Sometimes, Petrov finished with a sigh. I wonder if we might have been better off with the invasion. Anya, watching a Vronti warrior try to stuff a dollar bill into a tip jar with all 4 of his clawed hands, couldn't help but laugh. Perhaps, General, she said, taking a sip of her drink. Perhaps. As this new alliance continued with Vronti, more appreciation developed for this stubborn, tough alien race, started to win over the human citizens which now felt more at ease in their presence, as one day a new threat may loom, and these Vronti would prove themselves very capable opponents.